So this is the latest A24 horror comedy from first-time director Alex Scharfman, starring Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd. They are father-daughter on kind of this road trip to see his executive boss from the company that he works for. They've recently experienced the loss of their mother in the last few years. They have a very tense relationship and not really getting along. Paul Rudd is really hoping to impress this philanthropist at this pharmaceutical head, and he's like, if I can just get on the board and just do 5-10 years there, then I can make some really good money and really take care of us. He's clearly more interested in his own career and not necessarily looking after the family. During an argument on this road trip, though, they hit something with the car in the middle of the road. Is it a horse? Is it a deer? Is it a moose? What is it? Turns out it is a living, breathing unicorn, big horn on its head, not quite dead, and so they decide to put it in the back of the car and continue on. The philanthropists, they're in like a game preserve, so they're really, they don't want them to exactly know that they've just killed this animal. We get there, and it's this wealthy kind of this very satirical family headed by the great Richard E. Grant, who's very sickly. Taya Leone is his trophy wife. Will Poulter is their idiot son. They're fun. They have a good time, but it's becomes very clear that the unicorn isn't quite dead in their car. They eventually, through a series of happenstance, discover that it has medicinal properties. The unicorn's blood, the unicorn's horn specifically, can cure all sorts of diseases. And they're like, well, we have to monetize this right away. We got to get our scientists working on this. The supply is limited, so we can charge as much as we want. But the unicorn's horn serves a little bit as a beacon, and its parents come calling, wondering what happened to their dear unicorn child. That's our setup. It's a lot going on. Some things work, some don't. Zach, what do you think?
So I think Death of a Unicorn has a good cast. And I think it lands sometimes with the comedy. It doesn't always work, but I think the cast is doing a lot of work here. Writer-director Alex Scharfman is fundamentally new to this. This is his first big feature. I don't know how any director's first feature gets signed with A24. I'm not sure who he knows in the background, but I know he's got a history in the industry doing some producing. So he got a great cast for this, and he got a great distributor for this. So it seems like Death of a Unicorn is going to be something bold and new. And it's bold kinda, and it's new kinda. But I think its biggest fault is that it seems to land in this like rich people in ironic isolation dying tragically and for comedy purposes space that we've seen a lot. Like it feels a lot like The Menu. It reminded me of Companion that we watched a few weeks ago. Andy and I were talking about it before the show. I'm sure we'll come up with other comparisons that I can't think of off the top of my head. But Opus is a great example, and we also watched Opus recently. It just kind of lands in that space, and unfortunately doesn't do anything too new. I think the monster design is a little lacking. I know they're unicorns and they look a little different than normal unicorns, but the cast is good, I should say. And there's some good lines and there's some good performances, and I think it's worth talking about.
That's where I wanted to start. Jenna Ortega just can do no wrong. She's a child who's hurting. She's maybe high school, college age. It's a little ambiguous. But our wealthy family is really where the fun is at. Richard E. Grant is doing Shakespeare with the role of Odell, the patriarch of this family. And it's funny because he's very sickly at the beginning of the movie, and he eventually gets better because of the unicorn, being near the unicorn. And he just turns into this whole other Shakespearean character. Like he's like, you would retreat in the face of opportunity. Like he's got these amazing lines. Taya Leone, who I haven't seen in ages, is a lot of fun as the trophy wife. And Will Poulter really gets a lot of the fun stuff as the idiot son who's like into crypto, trying to be an entrepreneur, like is a total bro kind of person, just like total idiot. It's really funny. Anthony Carrigan is in this, who of course played NoHo Hank in HBO's Barry. He's wasted, unfortunately. He doesn't really get a lot of good lines, but it's fun to see him in here. Paul Rudd's probably the weakest person in this cast, which is a rare thing to say. Usually he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Rudd had an issue with direction, and I don't want to pin it entirely on Scharfman, But like Rudd's done a lot of work, and like we've seen him be a pretty good charismatic father character. And while his character is supposed to be a bit more dialed back and a bit more nervous, and maybe suffering the passing of his wife recently, which is why he's trying to reconnect with his daughter, Jenna Ortega, it doesn't work. It's like he's in a different movie. And Ortega also is like she's in a different movie, but it works. She sets the tone in a way that's refreshing, because while all the other rich heads are dealing with how we're gonna chop up this pony and make money out of it, she's like, hey y'all, maybe we should slow down a second. This doesn't seem like a very good idea. Like, she has this kind of connection with the unicorn right up the front that gives her a totally different outlook on this situation and how we can deal with this dead mystical animal. Meanwhile, everybody else is like, how do we farm this for money? What can we do? And they have these really funny kind of like moral quandary statements that they make, like, well, it'd be for the good of everybody, and if this could cure cancer, think how good that would be, right? While they're just like raking in dollars and getting on their phone, and Will Poulter's like fixing his fourth drink in the scene, like really great. But yeah, Rudd is not good in this, and it's a bummer. Like it's hard to nail down why he's not good, but it's just like he's a little too meek, and he doesn't help move the plot along. He kind of stands in the way of things for the first 2/3 of the movie. No, we shouldn't. Let's go back. No, it's normal. It's all fine. And it's like, it's so obviously not, guy. And I think his character hurts that way. But Poulter's great. Poulter has a run of like 10 minutes in this movie where I swear every line he nails perfect. He gets every good laugh. Every joke lands. Like, he's tremendous. Tons of fun with Poulter. And you're right. Like, it's great to see Tay Leone. I feel like I just said everything you just said back to you. We got to talk about plot. I'm sorry. I just want to talk about performances for a second.
Yeah, so the humor and the performances are probably what work the best. What doesn't really work is the horror side of things. That there's a lot of kind of gruesome killings. The unicorn's parents come in and skewer a hole because they have horns. A lot of people get impaled and gored through. It's never real surprising. It is over the top gory. It's just not that. It's not scary. It's not really meant to be, but it's not really funny either. They eventually they're trapped in different places. They're like, oh, we got to get the unicorn samples out of the house. There's a couple of scientists that are carrying them around. So probably the first half of this works pretty well, and then it starts to kind of lose its way.
Yeah, it's a creature feature. It's a white horse, one horn, bleeding purple creature feature. That doesn't mean anything. Maybe it's a title. Maybe I can make that title something. It's a creature feature, but the creatures aren't that good. Like, you don't really get a good look at them. And you kind of already have an idea in your head of what a unicorn's going to be. In fact, there's a bit where Jenna Ortega gets these like old, like she does some art research and like what these things are about, these mystical creatures. And like she finds these old tapestries and like they very plainly are like, here's what a unicorn is supposed to look like. And then you start to get a look at these things and you're like, okay, it's all right. But it's a creature feature where the creatures aren't that frightening, like not that interesting. And I don't know, it ends up just being a little... It's like it's missing that lightning. It's missing that zing that you expect from an A24 joint that's like really going to have something special to it. It ends up just feeling a little bit like they just got a closed set at this like chateau set they've got, and we'll get everybody out there and we'll film with 8 people for 2 weeks and we'll make our movie. And it just lacks the zing. It lacks this like spice, this variety that like makes it really jump off the screen.
Right. The comparisons to The Menu are apt, and that's where that movie works really well, is when about midway through, when things get real gruesome, they get real gruesome and entertaining. And this, it just doesn't quite get there. Yeah. Jenna Ortega is putting together these old tapestries, and she's lore building. You also have the on premise help that are double as like SWAT team, and they get all in their gear and they're trying to hunt the unicorns or get the people out. That stuff doesn't really work very well. Like I said, the main cast is what's the best, but man, there's no suspense. It's supposed to be like a Jurassic Park kind of suspense, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, they even do like this gag with like the shadow of the creature on this like tunnel wall that's made out of plastic, and it looks a lot like Jurassic Park raptors. Yeah, it's a lot like, the family and like David Harbour's Violent Night, right? Like, we're out at the lodge for Christmas and our security team also doubles as a SWAT team for some reason. Or even like Cocaine Bear, right? Like this wild creature is running about with like untamed force, and like we can only do our best to escape it and evade it, right? Like it works, but it just feels tired. I will say it's efficient. Good thing. It's like 100 minutes, like moves pretty tight, and that's good. And there's some good laughs. Poulter's funny. Jenna Ortega's funny. Richard E. Grant is good. But yeah, it just feels like it's just not quite Doesn't quite have the gusto. I'm running out of things to say about it, Andy. Where are you at?
Well, real quick, I was gonna. One of the plot devices is, the repairing of their relationship between Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd, the father-daughter bond. Man, it just is not convincing. We get a couple of emotional scenes, and they just don't really feel earned. It didn't seem like we really got there in a fair way, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, Rudd's mind is elsewhere. I don't know if he was shooting a drama on the side of this or something, or if he was like in from vacation, but like he just does not seem grounded in the set. Meanwhile, Ortega's like squirting out real tears, man. She's good. Ortega's great. Like, no complaints, but overall, just, I don't know. It doesn't end up being more than some of its parts. Any other thoughts or recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend A24's Death of a Unicorn?
I would say save it for streaming or pass if you're not too interested in it. The cast is great. The cast is a lot of fun. The humor is probably the best part of this. The plot is a little messy, a little nonsensical. The father-daughter relationship rebuilding doesn't really work, but it does have a lot of fun moments. Will Poulter is a delight. He's so funny in this at times, but it's just kind of an overall miss.
Yeah, it's a little movie of the week. And that's okay. A24 doesn't always hit it out of the park. Like, we know this. Like, for every great movie they've got a couple that are okay or a little too weird. This one lands in that space. I think there's some people who'll be into it. I'm sure there'll be some folks who have a connection, but I don't know. It just feels a little flat. It feels like it lacks a little something. Promising work, though. I think Scharfman will probably do more. I'm looking forward to what he does next. He'll probably do some other kind of creature feature. I'm sure he learned a lot making this. Like, good, just not exceptional. That's all. Fine movie, though. No real complaints about Death of a Unicorn, other than the stuff that I complained about. Anyway, we got to move on. We got to talk about television, Andy, which is not something we normally do on this show. I probably need some kind of fancy noise, zing, bang,
We
boom,
need some
bumper or
music,
something.
yeah.
Like, yeah, we need some energy. Shot out of a cannon is what we need, right? Like nuclear. But currently what we've got is a special show from Apple TV Plus we're excited to talk about. And a little bit about this Netflix show, too. We teased at the front. I'm going to be taking the summary on this one. The show is Apple TV Plus's The Studio.